thanks to our great founder, Brahmarshi Patriji, I am in a position to give my thought and ideas and a little bit of my wisdom from the books that have been recommended by Patriji. And the last sessions we had with Patriji are simply, it's very green in my memory because just 2 years back we had an excellent interview. Patriji interviewed us, that is myself and my life partner Girija Rajan and my daughter Purnima. We had it in Pyramid Valley when we talked about thinking and destiny. And that is a wonderful session we had. Such an open discussion it was. Of course, it is on YouTube for everyone to watch. But then, all said and done, I wouldn't have come to this spiritual path but for this great man, Brahmarshi Patriji, whom I happened to meet by chance when I was serving in Nabad in year 1998 in Mysore. I just happened to go there, not because I really wanted to go for the session, but I just went to drop my family there. But just peeping into the hall of Jagan Mohana Palace, that is known as Palace Auditorium, and just while peeping, I found one of my friends sitting on the dais, and that evoked interest, and that made me sit there. Then all the rest, all of you know, then we have been tied up with Patriji, and I sat there for the whole session, at least 3 hours we were there. And so what I want to say before I really start my session is, there are some opportunities, there are some timings, there are some unique moments, when you come across certain people who can simply transform your life. So this has happened to so many great spiritual gurus. It has happened to Steve Jobs, who met a great Himalayan yogi, and that is how he gave the name Apple for his company. I think you may be knowing. And similarly, it happened to, I think, Rockefeller Foundation in Rockefeller. He met a Himalayan yogi. Similarly, Dr. Ende, and similarly, Linda Goodman. All of them have met the Himalayan yogis. All the people whom I just now said, I told you. They've all met Himalayan yogis. Only after that, the difference came into their lives. So such moments do happen to us. And from then on, we know what's in store for us. Okay. And they are able to make out, here is a person. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So that's what Linda Goodman has said, and that's precisely what has happened to me. So friends, it's so nice to be talking to you once again after a long time. And so today's topic, spiritual intelligence, is of very keen interest to me because I've been following the books, and not only one book, there are so many other books. Emotional intelligence is another book. That's also a great book. So all these things give us more and more wisdom. And Patriji always used to harp on this matter. Swadhyaya is what we want if we have to get closer to enlightenment. And as you all know, IFSS is just heading for that, and IFSS is on the way to become the Global Federation of Spiritual Scientists very shortly. So we are almost some steps are being taken towards that, and we find so many people other than in India who are watching this program. So I wish them all the best, because we'll be, I think we'll be in touch more often when we are there in the global global sessions, especially when we have on YouTube. So today, when we are talking about spiritual intelligence, let us start from human intelligence itself. So human intelligence has its roots in our genetic code and in the whole evolutionary history on this planet. So what are the normal influences in human intelligence? Let us try to analyze that. So how does our intelligence come, and what are the things that influence our intelligence? So our daily experiences is one thing, our physical and mental health is one thing. Then another thing is most important, that is our diet. Then the amount of exercise that we get in the course of our various relationships, the amount of different kinds of experiences we get during our relationship, either with a brother, sister, family, or friends. And then we form so many other factors and form the relationships. And there are so many other factors which are also influencing our intelligence. So human intelligence depends on so many factors. Now, but neurologically speaking, our brain and so many neural extensions are there, which cause us to decide what sort of intelligence has to really influence us, or is really giving us something good or something different from good. So one kind of neural extension which enables us to have a rational, logical, rule-bound thinking, and that is IQ. IQ means intelligentsia quotient, and I think every one of us knows what IQ means, because as you know, when you go for an interview, the first thing that they would like to assess is what is your IQ. Suppose they ask you which is the capital of Belgium, then immediately you will say Brussels. Okay. So similarly, it happens who is the president of US, who is the president of China, who is the prime minister of Canada. So many questions are there. So you'll be able to answer them immediately because of your general knowledge. The general knowledge can be on anything. It can be about the height of the Eiffel Tower, or it can be so many height of the Qutub Minar. So many things are there. So all this is decided by intelligentsia quotient. So the next thing that we are aware of and we know also is one kind of neural extension which enables us to do rational, logical, rule-bound thinking. So this rule-bound thinking is also important, and it gives us the intelligence quotient. While when we go to the next type of intelligence, there that allows us to do what is known as associative, habit-bound, pattern recognizing, and emotive thinking. This is known as EQ. That is emotional quotient. So when there is emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, the person becomes so very affected by seeing scenes suddenly of crime or suddenly of something which upsets him. So his emotions are affected greatly. So that is known as emotional quotient. The third and the most important kind of neural extension, which allows us to do creative, insightful rule making or rule breaking and rule breaking thinking, that is known as SQ, that is spiritual quotient or spiritual intelligence. This is the thinking with which we reframe and transform our previous thinking. This gives us our SQ. And if you want to fully understand SQ, we should also know what is IQ and EQ. So what is your overcome? And once you have had the IQ and the EQ, then we go into the most important thing, that is spiritual quotient or spiritual intelligence. So here we have to understand that only when we are able to be on par with the society and the sense of oneness comes in us, then we are really come to become a spiritually intelligent person. So spiritual intelligence is important for us in various ways, and it has helped us in a various ways in the course of our steps towards enlightenment. So what we have to do is we have to find out how the spiritual quotient can really help us by understanding and by knowing that the features of a spiritually intelligent person are very unique, and these are something to be endeavored, something to be copied by every one of us. So the first point is that he is well matured in his spiritual knowledge as well as in spiritual experience. The second point about spiritual intelligence is he understands that we are not just a physical system consisting of bones and muscles, but a fundamental consciousness. So when he understands that we are subjected to death, and death is only a transition to the other birds. So he is very much aware that that we have come here only to have an exercise and to gain some knowledge, So the earth is considered as a school by a person who is spiritually intelligent. The next important feature of a spiritually intelligent person is that he knows that we are only on a temporary journey on this spaceship called the earth, because it is the astral worlds which are the permanent phenomenon where he has to go as a spirit, because the body dies but the spirit continues. The spirit is eternal. So for being a spiritually intelligent person, it is very important that we have a sound mind, and existence of a sound mind depends entirely upon possessing this spiritual intelligence as opposed to the worldly intelligence. And what is worldly intelligence? Worldly intelligence is your capacity to know things, to make things better for your life here, to acquire knowledge, to help people, to help all beings, human beings as well as other sentient beings. So all this is spiritual intelligence. The next point that we have, the next feature of a spiritually intelligent person is that he is aware that we have no right whatsoever in interfering in others' lives or to judge others. So these are all matters which I have gained from Patriji. Patriji has given a very good definition of spiritually intelligent person, and he has always been stressing upon our uh, our need to be spiritually intelligent as against IQ and EQ. Of course, EQ is very important these days, because what is EQ? EQ is your capacity to not tolerate any harm to anyone. So suppose I see a small boy, hardly 4-year-old, is beaten for dropping a glass of milk. Suppose he just drops it on the floor. So the mother starts beating him left and right. So if your heart is tender, you will definitely not appreciate it. You will go to the rescue of the child. Similarly, if someone is stoning a dog, you will feel so bad seeing blood shedding out of that small poor animal. So that shows that you are emotionally intelligent, if you are able to emotionally balanced, if you go and try to prevent that sort of a injustice being done to anyone, whether it's a child or whether it's a dog. So emotional intelligence has become so very important in particularly in Western society, because it affects the mental health of so many people, particularly children. Because children who are subjected to this sort of difficulties in emotions are also suffering, because the circumstances which are available to them cause a sort of a trauma in children, and their mental health suffers immensely. That is why these days you will see that in many schools and colleges, mental health is given so much importance, because there is a possibility of children going astray or even committing suicides when the mental health is not satisfied. So you have to have not only IQ but also EQ if you are to get the ultimate thing, that is SQ, that is spiritual quotient. So yet another feature of a spiritually intelligent person is he understands that we alone are responsible for creating our ongoing realities. So as Seth has mentioned in any of his books, that because Seth has given so much message to Jane Roberts in almost 1800 sessions, that one of the most important, often quoted sentence is that you create your own reality. So what does it mean? That every one of us is responsible. Whatever good we are having or whatever bad we are having is all because of our own thinking and our own actions. And these actions are not only during this lifetime. So those who believe in rebirth will definitely agree that the law of karma applies for so many births, earlier births. All the earlier births also have a reflection. And the way you have been carrying on in your earlier lives will also have an impact on the current lifetimes. So coming to this other features, a spiritually intelligent person truly understands that what we give unto others comes back multiplied in the same kind. So this itself is another analogy of, or another, what I should say, outcome of the law of karma. Because when you do something bad to someone, the same will be repeated in equal measure, either in this lifetime or in some other lifetimes. So a spiritual person is also one who is convinced that perfect spiritual intelligence enables you to have spiritual health, because spiritual health is very important if you have to be completely on the proper course of enlightenment, because you get enlightened little by little by your own actions and by your own thoughts and by your own words. All these are important for becoming an enlightened person, and that is the way that we have to lead. Because as per the law of karma, by the time you are vacating your body, you should have completed all your bad karmas and taken up a score where you have only good karmas prevailing, so that when you go to the other worlds, you are able to make a choice as to whether you want to come down to the earth or whether you want to continue there or in another galaxy. Because as Sylvia Brown says, it is the astral words and the astral masters who are able to see and decide for you and also help you to chalk out your future in the next birth and where you want to go. Everything is decided by the astral masters after looking into your Akashic records. Now we also come into so many other characters or so many other uh, features that a normally spiritually intelligent person should take up and should do to continue his good work on this earth. So I would like all of you to see what are the essential features which make a man marked out in the case of as compared to any other person. So the first capacity that the person has is the capacity to be flexible. What does it mean? If a person is spiritually intelligent, then he is expecting something and he comes, suppose he attends a function. He thinks that food will be served there, and he has not really had his food thinking that it will be served there. But he is really, in his heart of hearts, he is disappointed that the food is not available there. But then it doesn't really affect him, because after all, he says he has not really wanted it, but then it would have been good if it was there. But he is flexible. He still continues to be in his same mode, along with other people, actively participating in all the events and not really affected by anything that happens. Similarly, suppose a person is about to go for an interview and he is about to go to the bus stand, but suddenly there is rain. This doesn't really affect him, because he probably feels that it may be that the nature of the universe doesn't want me to attend that interview. So there is something in store for me, something good in store for me. So this sort of sudden occurrence of rain doesn't really affect him. He is very flexible and is able to adjust to that. And similarly, even if he has to contend with a situation where he doesn't get a seat in the bus, he doesn't mind standing and continuing the journey, and even offering a seat to the elders if it is required. He is so very flexible. So a person who is spiritually intelligent has the capacity to be flexible, actively and spontaneously. He is also adaptive to every situation that he faces. The next point that we have to understand is a person who is spiritually intelligent will have a high degree of self-awareness. That means, that is why Patrici used to say that mindfulness that is required should always be there in a person who is completely in a meditative state. and who has really attained a high level of spiritual progress or spiritual elevation. Because this self-awareness about everything that is around him, and he should be able to readily respond or take active part when his support may give additional benefit to the people around him. So, high degree of self awareness is one of the qualities of a spiritually intelligent person. The, the next important point that a spiritually intelligent person should possess is the capacity to face and transcend pain. What does it mean? That when he is subjected to pain, say on account of when he's traveling, I remember that he used to narrate one particular incident when he was traveling by bus, and he those days, almost 20 years back, he used to travel by bus only from one place to another. Then there was a time when someone stamped his feet, and the other man's feet was continuously on his feet, but he did not even raise his voice or did not get angry. And the person who was going along with him was another master, another meditator, and he was just observing because everyone was shouting and everyone was tormenting that other person for having put his leg on this on Patriji. But then Patriji simply kept quiet. He did not even raise his voice. He simply quietly got down from the bus after that incident. So that shows he has the capacity to face pain and to transcend pain. So a spiritually intelligent person will never exhibit or even declare that yes, he has been subjected to pain on account of some circumstances which he has faced. So that is a capacity to be tolerant, and that is very much needed for a spiritually intelligent person. The quality of being inspired by vision and values. What does that mean? That when you meet a person who has got a very good capacity to be an orator, for example, suppose you appreciate someone with a very good knowledge. I remember those days when I used to attend certain lectures by tax practitioners. Particularly, there was one gentleman named Palkiwala. He was an authority in taxation matters, and there used to be a huge crowd to listen to his speech, particularly after the Indian government's budget was passed in the parliament. So you develop an attitude of appreciating and really uh, getting inspired by the values of so many people and by their knowledge too. Wishing and values also means the value of kindness, the value of being friendly, the value of going out of your way to help people. So these type of qualities, when you see, especially for example, when I talk about Pakriji, there is no end to the. I think it will need a long session to narrate how he used to be so tolerant on so many matters, as well as the qualities that he had possessed in respect to the vision. He had a big vision for the pyramid spiritual studies movement. That is why it has developed so much, because he developed a Sangha. He learned from the Buddhist technology and the Buddha's life history that forming a Sangha will give you a lot of benefits, because everyone will try to understand the other and he will be inspired by the members who are in the society. So this quality of being inspired by vision and values, this is definitely a quality of a very spiritually intelligent person. The reluctance to cause unnecessary harm. See, compassion is one thing which is very important for any human being, because the compassion should be there to not only to animals, insects, and all the other beings, but also human beings. So you should not cause harm, and that reluctance to cause harm, it comes automatically in the blood of the person who is spiritually intelligent, because causing harm will give lot of problems not only to the person who is a victim, but also to the person causing the harm, because the karma effect of that will come in some way and it will affect that person. Only then he will remember that I ought to have behaved better. I ought not to have caused such harm which was avoidable. So the reluctance to cause unnecessary harm is automatic in the case of spiritual persons. There is a tendency to see connections between the things that is being holistic. What does this mean? That when there is, for example, I remember when there was earthquake in Iran, then so many people, Iran as well as in Kathmandu, it was so many people who were spiritual, they could alone see the reason for this. And the person who is spiritually intelligent will definitely be able to see the connection between the cause and the effect. So the cause for any natural calamity or any sort of problems like this is the actions of the people who are directly responsible for causing harm. So in the case of earthquakes, invariably it is group karma which affects them. And under the karma philosophy or the karma theory, we know the group karma affects not only the individual, but all the people, one or two individuals, but it affects the entire village or the community which is staying there for having caused harm either to nature or to animals. And that is the direct result of these natural calamities. So a spiritually intelligent person knows that there is a connection between calamities and between different things, diverse things. So he is definitely holistic in his approach, entire approach to the society. There is a marked tendency to ask why or what if such questions and to seek fundamental answers by people who are spiritually intelligent. Now, this particular matter, I would also put it another way. I do not know, but many of you have observed that in the case of children, they are the people who naturally ask or who invariably ask why for so many things. Suppose I tell my son, have your bath and then have your food. Then he will ask why. So such sort of questions arise from children because they would like to know why and what if. What if I do not do my studies? What if I do not go to school? Or why should I take bath daily? Why should I brush my teeth daily? Such sort of questions come from children. Quite unknowingly, they ask these questions. So invariably, in the case of spiritually intelligent persons, they do not take everything as it is. So they would like to know and they would ask themselves why it happens. What if it does not happen? What if such and such thing affects someone? What should I do next? So they like to question and they like to seek the fundamental answers to every question that arises in the course of their duties on this planet Earth. So there is that tendency for spiritually intelligent persons not to stay aloof from everything, but to also get involved in knowing so that they will be able to do greater service to humanity. The next important quality of a spiritually intelligent person is they are known as field independent. Field independent means they do their things on their own. They do not wait for getting any sort of support or facility or help for doing anything. Suppose they see that there is an accident in the course of the driving on the roads. Immediately, the spiritually intelligent person will jump down from his own vehicle and try to go and be of aid, be of help to whoever is affected by the accident. You will try to take them, give them first aid, and if possible, even take them to the hospital for treatment. Similarly, even in the case of animals which are being beaten or which are being harassed or hurt by some people, it will be the only the spiritually intelligent person who will come out in the open to see how he can be of use. So he is field independent, which means he wants to do things on his own. He is in the field, he is independent, and he is a good active worker to benefit society, who is helpful to society. So a person high in this spiritual intelligence will also be a servant leader. We can call him a servant leader because he is a person who can bring higher vision and value to the others. And he is also one who can inspire others by his own actions. So, from so many books, we try to understand how spiritually intelligent persons normally function by their own, not only by their words, but by also by their own thoughts and by their own actions. Their thoughts are very, very pure. They are always positive in approach, and they never uh, spell out any sort of disastrous terms which will affect anything in the course of their lives. So they take it as their responsibility, not only to the individual, to the society, but to the entire world. So they stand apart in so many places, and we are able to make out who is the most spiritually intelligent person and who is not. So it should be our duty, as Patriji has very often said, that we should be able to be of use. And at the end of when our term has expired, we should be able to know how much we have been selfless in our own actions. So in the course of this journey, life's journey, it has been the practice for people not only to be fully material and always try to clamor about gathering wealth, about enjoying happiness all around, and not caring for others. So all these selfish attitudes should disappear, and they should be selfless in their motives. That is why Patriji, in the course of a discourse in Bhajagovindam, says, Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara. Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara means you should be able to differentiate between what is the happiness that we get and what are the benefits that we get. Whether the benefits that you get are of short-term nature or are they of long-term nature. So it is very, very clear that when your desire is only to get small pleasures and comforts on this life, then it will not give you continuous happiness. So prolonged happiness, if it is required, then you should aim to have only those objects which give you permanence. Like, for example, teaching people meditation, getting the experiences of people. Each one is a policy which Patriji has been advocating. So when you try to convey all that knowledge that you have to the entire world, then you will also get the soul satisfaction that you have been doing something which benefits all the others. So it should be our endeavor to see how we are helpful as long as we are on this earth. So the spiritually intelligent persons are the ones that we require on this earth, so that we have a place where there is no uh, there is no harm to nature, harm to animals, or harm to other human beings, and everyone is able to live a blissful life on this earth. I would like all of them to read one book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. This
Great.
book will go a long way in helping you to maintain a balance in your emotions. Understand? Because the author has taken so much trouble to give examples. I really have to say 100 thanks to him for having so much knowledge he's got, and so many experiences he has given about how in our brain there is what is known as the amygdala. Amygdala is the Latin word is it is a Latin word for almonds. So it is an almond shape function part of our brain. Okay. So when that one is active, then you will be able to do things in the normal manner. But when you are, that you're correct, that Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. So what that amygdala does is it makes you understand the right moments when you are in emotional, when you are really touched by something, when you are affected by something. You get affected when you see your son is being beaten by your father. Mr. Grandfather beats grandson. Okay. So then naturally you will feel bad, but you can't oppose it. Okay. But later you find that that boy has not been responsible for it. It's someone else. So unnecessarily he has taken a beating. Understand? So at that time you really feel so very sorry for the boy. It can happen in so many circumstances. But then this amygdala, suppose it is dull, then what happens is you will not be even able to appreciate the moment, or you will not be able to differentiate between who is who. Understand? Everything is still. All the operations in the brain get still. You understand? So you are not able to even take your individual action to prevent any harm to anyone. Understand? So it's a very important part of our brain, amygdala. Okay. So all this you'll try to understand. And in this book, it gives you so many examples of how a small part of your brain, if that is inactive, then you will never know whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. You'll simply do something without knowing that it is wrong. Understand? That is how people become, say, habituated to drugs or alcohol and all that, because they don't know it affects their brain at some point of time, and so they continue doing what they're doing. Understand? Similarly, it causes OCD, occupational disorders. All this are happening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To know what is a parameter to assess how far a person is spiritually, how far he is really advanced in spiritual intelligence. So for that, normally what we do is that we see whether the person is duty conscious. That is the first thing that we'll have to see. Okay. And next one is that he will be a person who nurtures relationships. He'll never avoid relationships. He'll always try to develop a relationship with everyone. Understand? So he'll maintain the relationship and he will nurture it in the best way possible, so that no one has, even one person has no bad opinion about it. Understand? Number two. And number three is that he has got a very good understanding. He tries to understand people by going to their level. See, always when you stand on a tower, understand, and try to look at all the people below you as if they are below you, then that creates an inequity. Understand? A sort of a discrimination. So such a person who is able to do all this, that is, try to be duty conscious. Second is nurturing relationships. Third is understanding through equation with the others. And personal transformation also will be there. And the most important thing is sense of brotherhood will be there. Understand? If the person is non-committal and he wants to stay aloof and is an introvert, I don't think that person can be called spiritually intelligent. He must be a person who is socially and who is also accessible. Understand? To whom any person can ask any doubt regarding spirituality. You shouldn't think, and this person who is spiritually intelligent should also go out of the way to help them, to tell them, to explain to them, because they are you should not adopt what they call that in Pali language, upeksha. Upeksha means trying to avoid and keeping them off from your fold. Understand? So when all these qualities are there, that brotherhood qualities, then you can say such person is spiritually intelligent. So he will always be a servant leader, as I said last. So, and unity with every person who he sees, that is always there. Understand? So these qualities, if he has, then it's very easy to identify a person who is spiritually intelligent. Law of karma, what does it say? As you sow, so you reap. Understand? So this applies not only to human beings around, it also applies to animals, it applies to plants, it applies to trees, it applies to water bodies. Okay. So there are places where the water bodies are allowed to get dry. There are places where trees are fully cut. Okay. Now, if you see, especially many Western countries who are not participating in this climate change exercise, especially which is initiated in Paris and where our country has taken the lead, in bringing about stringent rules to prevent annihilation, prevent deforestation. Understand? So when these people who are involved in these acts, they all invariably they live together. Understand? So what happens is at the place where such sort of actions are not prevented, at least by some spiritually intelligent persons, then there will be wholesale, what do you call it, calamities which will affect the entire group, entire community in that entire population there. Okay. So group karma can also apply to a family. A family, for example, suppose it has been very, very violent in their approach to the neighbors, and like, for example, uh, causing harm to the pets around their house, or to do such things, then it can affect the whole family by means of possibly of a accident in which all the people get killed. You understand? So that is group karma. So group karma can happen either in families, or it can happen in a society, or in a community, or in the entire nationality. It can happen in one nation. It can happen. So when I quoted the case of Kathmandu, I remember after the earthquake took place there, it was revealed by news correspondents that 1 lakh cows had been sacrificed because they did not have rain for the last 2 years. Understand? So all the villages in and around that place were affected by earthquake. Understand? Because they killed 1 lakh cows. So that was a time when I also thought about it. What are the in for after doing all this? They think by killing cows they will get rain. How is it possible? What is the connection? Understand? So they thought that to appease the gods, if you kill or if you commit sacrifice, then they will get everything. They will get rain, they will get water, they get whatever they want. So it is foolish to believe that and do that. And it is also foolish of the government to permit that. You understand? So what was the result? The result was so many villages vanished in no time. Understand? Because of that it was a very mass scale calamity. Okay. So this is what is known as group karma. If we are giving something, first thing that we should understand the law of giving. Suppose if you are well versed with law of giving, then you will know that the first thing that you should know is when you are giving, you should give without any expectation from the other person. You should give gratuitously. Understand? With your heart open. Give it with give with an open heart to when you are giving. Never think that this will give you something back. You will get it, but you need not get it from the same person. So if you had given something big, really big and really very valuable, you should treat it that it was your karma that you have discharged in the process. So it is possible that particular person who has been the recipient of this gift has helped you in some life, in some previous lifetime. So if I was in that place, I would simply think that I had owed him something, or I owed her something. So I have given it. So I need not expect anything from that. It was circumstances which made me rich enough to give. I will be contented that way. So universe has placed me in such a situation that I am in a position to donate, say, 10 crores, like Tata, for example. Okay, I am in a position, in such a good position that I am able to give. So that means God has been kind to you. Universe has been kind to you. So you should be happy that you are giving it, and you should be giving it gratuitously, and not thinking that you should get something or you will get something. Your suffering or your grief only comes because of the expectation. The moment you feel that you have to give it your whole heart, and do not be on any expectation after having given it so very happily. So let us understand that there is no hurt if you are a meditator, and especially when you are a spiritual person, since you know yourself, and others' opinions do not matter for you. Understand? So it is enough if you give it with a loving heart. First thing, let us understand, because whatever scriptures you read, I do not think there would be a religion which will approve of violence of any nature. Understand? And similarly, the law also does not permit. So every law in every country does not approve of violence, and similarly, it applies to the religion also. So if a religion advocates, so-called it advocates, I don't think it is correct. According, because according to Patriji, then he said that no religion is wrong. It is only the way it has been interpreted by the people who claim to be closest to the leader, that they have been interpreting it in the way that it suits. For example, there are some religions which do not approve of, or they do not consider that there is another birth. You understand? So, what do you say about that? Because in Hinduism, we say there is rebirth. Buddhism says there is rebirth. But there is enough proof to say that there are so many people born again. In fact, there are instances documented by BBC where a boy in Sri Lanka, he recounts all his previous history, and tells the family where he is born that I do not belong to this family. My family is 20 kilometers away from this village, and my father's name is such and such. And I saw that documentary in which that boy is taken to the newspaper news correspondence taken there, and he has been correct. 5-year-old boy, if he is able to recount the name of his father with whom he has lived his life, then what do you say? There is rebirth. We have got enough proof that there is rebirth. So I I personally feel no religion has approved or encourages violence of any nature, any sort, and it is wrong to think so. And no religion can do it because it is also against law. So, because if a religion has approved it, then the court also will be in trouble if they penalize a person for having indulged in any illegal or violent exercise or violent acts. You understand? So, according to me, it is wrong to think it may be there, it may be the way that it has been misinterpreted by the so called followers. Understand? So, no religion can advocate violence of any nature. That is my final answer.